Donnie here, and I want to talk about our sponsor for the Why Bass podcast, Jim Dunlop MXR. Since 1965, Jim Dunlop has given us what we need with strings, picks, straps, and pedals. And not just any pedals, pedals for bassists, which not a lot of people do. They offer the bass synth, which I've used on the Kelly Clarkson cover with the Toadies. They've got a T-bass distortion chorus a la Peter Hook, the Dynacomp for compression, and all bass players need compression. What I use every day on the road is the Bass DI floor unit to give me that extra punch that my front-of-house engineer loves. When it comes to picks, my go-to is the 1mm flex to give me the attack that I need. Head over to jimdunlop.com and check out their massive variety of pedals, picks, and strings. They have it all at jimdunlop.com. I would like to thank our sponsors at Schecter Guitars, makers of fine guitars for over 50 years. They make a huge variety of guitars and basses, all high-quality builds with the best materials and pickups at a reasonable price. Of course, Schecter offers a rip-roaring selection of bass guitars, as are the Model T4 and the Corsair. And right now, Schecter is celebrating 50 years of craftsmanship, innovation, and tone with their 50th anniversary collection. Head on over to schecterguitars.com and check it all out. Again, that is schecterguitars.com. You'll love it. Hello, this is the Why Bass podcast with Donivan Blair, and I'm Donivan Blair. Go figure. Hello, and welcome to the Why Bass podcast with Donivan Blair. It's a show where I ask my fellow bass players why they would want to pick up the four-string instrument, and I just love to hear their answers. Today's guest is Matt Reilly from Avril Levigne, and I really think you're going to love the interview. We talk about the studio, we talk about the road, origin stories, all kinds of fun stuff. So let's get in there. Hey, Matt, how are you? Dude, I almost said Todd because we were talking about someone else. I almost said, hey, Todd. Wait, no.
I'll go by Todd for this one.
Let's go with Matt.
Sure, that works.
Dude, thank you again for doing this. I appreciate you.
My pleasure, for real. Honestly, I'm really stoked to be here.
Burbank, you said? That's where you are?
Burbank, California. That's right.
I see you drinking out of a big-ass mason jar. Is that coffee?
Yeah.
You lucky bastard.
Yeah, I'm always just, this is homemade cold brew. I just I throw it in the fridge the night before, let it soak, let it brew, and then all throughout the day I just drink super caffeinated cold brew in giant jars like this, you know?
Dude, you belong like in the South with that fucking jar. That thing's huge. It's like with sweet tea. That's what I drank as a kid. That's how we ran it. I mean, you get done with like a pickle jar, and then your mama, would make like super strong, super sweat tea. And so then, yada, yada, yada. I got ADD. So. Yeah.
And it's funny because like I grew up in like New York State, like, up north and everything. So we had sweetened tea, but it wasn't necessarily like the Southern sweet tea, Yeah. So when we started touring the South and everything, and some people in the crew and everything would be like, oh, now we're going to my place. We're in Georgia. You get the sweet tea. And it's like, well, I've had sweet tea before, thinking I knew what it was. But then I experienced it for real. And it was like, now I understand. And I just drinking so much of that,
It's so amazing, dude. If you find really good Southern sweet tea, and it's how we ran it in Texas. It's like, I think my mama, of course I say, I could say grandma, but she's my mama. She would run like in a big jar, like 8 bags. I mean, it was strong as hell, and then half a bag of sugar,
Oh, man.
Fucking incredible.
That sounds great, actually.
It was rocket fuel.
Yeah.
So.
You know what I noticed, too, is even the bottled sweetened teas that you can buy, when I was down, every time I'm in the South, they have like extra sweetened bottles that you can buy. And I've never even seen that, like, ever. So it's so funny, what I thought I knew about sweet tea just doesn't even exist. We like a little bit of sweetness, and then we call it sweet tea.
Yeah. Sweet tea is a whole thing. And you're right, there's sweetened tea. That's not sweet tea.
No.
Now, sweet tea is, that'll take you to the fucking moon.
Yeah. And sometimes when we're on tour, and I never really know what city or state we're in, when you're doing the overnight drives, and it's
Mm-hmm.
just, it's a whirlwind. But when you get to catering, and all of a sudden you see the sweet tea, it's like, ah, I think I know where
Oh,
we're at.
we're
We're in the
somewhere
South
in the
now.
South. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if you hear somebody say, and my brother and I, we first started touring, years ago, we would be with other bands and they wouldn't be from Texas or something or the South. And we'd go, hey, he'd say, do you want a Coke? Like, yeah, give me a Pepsi. And we had a friend of ours go, what the fuck did you just say? Like, I want a Pepsi. Yeah, but he asked for a Coke. Like, yeah, then I told him a Pepsi.
Yeah,
So,
that's so funny. Same.
I
I
know.
would have been so confused by that up north. We
Yeah,
don't say you want a Coke referring
no,
to a soda. It's just like I would have been so
exactly.
confused by that. Yeah.
If it makes sense, we don't do it. That's how you run it in Texas.
That's
Logic.
how I'm becoming very globally cultured. It's like I have to learn all these things that don't make sense. But if you put it all together, you can kind of
It,
understand the world.
if you put it all together, it still doesn't fucking make sense when you go to Texas. But you're in
There's always some
California,
places.
and
Yeah.
that's logical. That is logical.
California, California is pretty straightforward. As much as you want to think like it's very like unique and blah blah blah,
Yeah,
it's very straightforward from what you're talking about in terms of
yeah.
you want a Coke
Oh,
and they're not referring to a Coke and this and that. It's like, I don't know.
yeah. If
California
they
is
asked me
easy.
that, and I go, "Yeah, give me a Dr Pepper," you just said a Coke. Like, oh, I forgot. You don't. Oh, okay, yeah. I
Yeah.
forgot. You're you didn't grow up a moron like I did. Okay, got it. All right, got it.
Yeah. But it's the people that come down and don't understand the question that look like morons. So maybe I grew up the moron by not
No,
understanding it. Oh, okay.
no, nope. It was us. Trust me,
Okay.
it was us, man.
There we go. We got that sorted.
So what's going on in Burbank? What are you
Oh,
doing there?
it's just hanging out. We got some cool projects happening. We got some music stuff and some other, maybe later in the podcast I'll talk about a cool little movie thing that's going on in Burbank.
Oh,
But
hell yeah. All right.
yeah, so
Well,
we got some
then
cool stuff there.
let's start off with why you're doing a movie or the path that got you onto this. Why bass, Matt?
Um, yeah, it's funny. I guess I always really loved music, and I remember growing up. I remember just really at a pretty young age, just getting into like the Beatles and listening to like my parents' old cassettes and records and all that. And when I started like flipping through years later, flipping through like guitar catalogs and all that kind of stuff, before I even owned the instruments, I always just kind of loved looking at the basses for whatever reason, just the look and the
Yeah.
tuning heads relative to like the guitars. I always thought the basses looked the coolest. And it definitely transferred well beyond just like being a kid and saying that this looked cool. Because when I actually started playing bass, you know, there's no feeling like cranking a bass amp and playing a few notes and feeling it in your chest on the stage, rumbling out to the crowd. Um,
Agreed. Yep.
because yeah, right, you can crank a guitar amp and it gets super loud and it
Yeah.
still sounds musical and it's
Mm,
harmonically rich and it's
sure.
cool in its own regard, but it's when it gets really loud, it's just loud. But when a bass is loud, there's like power to it. And I feel like you can't really replace that. And for me, it's definitely something where just that feeling of like the overall size
Yeah.
of a bass note when it's plucked, there's something that you feel way more than just kind of playing any other instrument. And honestly, it's like irreplaceable.
Okay.
I
We're
literally
done.
no
All
other
right.
instrument means the same.
Thanks for being on
So
the
it was nice
show,
talking to
Matt.
you.
We'll see you
Yeah,
later.
have a good
All
one. I'll
right.
talk
We'll
to you.
see
Thanks again.
everyone. That was Matt Reilly. All right. I think I'm going to end the complete podcast. Nobody's ever going to say anything better than that. Seriously, that is so well put. I don't think I've ever had someone on that's just come right out of the gate that said something that eloquent. Well, actually, maybe the other Matt Nevesky. You know what I mean?
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Pretty
And maybe because
much.
he and I are, I stole his answer maybe because he and I, maybe subconsciously, I knew it, how he was going to
Well,
answer.
I agree with you, and that's what we talked about. Also, it's just having that relation. It's like you feel it in your soul.
Yeah.
I think that's guitars are heard, bass is felt. So,
Yeah.
just what a great point of view about bass.
Yeah. And
Fantastic.
there's no replacement for it. And which brings up
No,
the whole
there's
thing where
not.
sometimes people are like, well, do you ever want to play guitar, or is bass just like an easier version of a guitar or something like that? And it's not. Like it's the sensation of the instrument as a whole is just so entirely different that, yeah, there's no substitute.
Wow. And like so and just like controlling it and manipulating it. And they think it's yeah, I mean, especially once we turn up loud and depending on just the gain we have from the amps, it can get away from you if you don't have control, you
Hmm.
know. And how are you playing it? Where are you playing? Where are you putting the notes? Who are you playing with? There's so many
Yeah.
different things and yeah, they think, oh well, you're just standing there. It's just four strings. Like, okay, you do it, dipshit. You go have fun.
Yeah. And also it's like I understand that maybe there are some people that will play bass who are guitar players and they do it maybe
Hmm.
to get some extra work or this or that, but it's not
Oh,
really like
sure.
their sole instrument. And
Hmm.
so, but with me and you and anyone on this podcast, that's what maybe confuses people where it's like who think that maybe it's just, oh, you have one or the other. You could either play guitar or bass, but it's really not just standing there and playing four strings and that's the difference. You take off
Yeah.
two and you play it. It really is. I mean, you feel it. And then when you're playing with a drummer, that's how I always feel like, anytime I'm playing a song, I kind of have this, even though I'm in the background and maybe there is generally some confusion about what a bass will do or what it is. I kind of like that because you get to kind of be the unsung hero, knowing like, hey, these
Yes.
songs would not be happening if it wasn't for me, or like the groove and all of this.
Uh-huh.
And even though I'm here, it's not because I want people to know that. I get my own pride literally by knowing that the song is turning out so well that the vocalist or the guitar players can get featured and do their
Wow.
job. And
Yeah.
I really don't have an ego when it comes to playing bass. I don't know, I just really like supporting the music.
Wow. Yeah. God, are you in my head?
Yeah,
Jesus, dude.
I am. Once all
You're
that
put
sweet tea
it's all
talk, we kind of hit this synchronicity, you know?
it's that and all that fucking huge ass mason jar you're chugging of fucking
It's a
cold brew.
mason jar of knowledge right here, you know?
Send me some. I need it, dude.
Yeah, you
Well,
got it.
it's God. I mean, seriously though, man. I think you just put it so good. I haven't heard many people put it that eloquently. I mean, of course, I think we all bass players think that, and it is. We can't have an ego. You have no ego. You can't to do this well. Because if so, you're going to be sorely bummed out for the rest of your life because
Yeah.
no one cares, no one's looking.
Yeah.
You have to be completely cool with not necessarily being support. We're all part of the band, and maybe other
Hmm.
people look at us that way, but I call them dumbasses. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Yeah.
But it's also like I think our presence, I'm sorry, our absence should be noted. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
When we're not playing, and then when we come in, they know we're there.
Yeah. And I remember ahead of like, because, playing with Avril, I joined her band in 2019, and it was like my first big tour where there was a separate music director and, backline programming and cues and all this. There was a ton of stuff you had to get in. And I remember the music director was telling me, like, hey, man, like, I know this is your first tour, but you as the bass player have like one of the heaviest jobs, like, or the most important roles here because
Wow.
if you're doing your job well enough, you kind of go unnoticed. But if you make a mistake, you're going to be the first to stand out more than anybody else on this stage.
Damn right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Bass player messes a note, Guitar player flubs something here or there. Yeah, it stands out, but it's not quite because you feel it, like we're saying. So
Yeah.
when you feel the wrong bass note relative to everything else, it hurts,
Yeah.
So
It
he puts like that
really
extra
does.
pressure on me. It's just kind of like,
Wow.
minus, I think the drummer also has like an added pressure as well. But I
Hmm.
think drum and bass have like definitely an added pressure of having to drive the song. Um, and if
Yeah.
they're locked in and going forward, because we don't really have a safety net kind of thing. And
No.
it's kind of tough.
They have
Drummer's
us.
setting the groove
We
and I'm
are the
just setting
safety
the,
net. Exactly.
yeah,
We're their
yeah,
safety nuts. So, I mean, it's like,
yeah,
wow, that's a great way to put it. It's like, yeah, we have zero safety net. The singers and the guitar players, we're their safety net.
yeah.
So it
And
is more pressure. Yeah.
it's more pressure. And I think that's also more of like the pride with it all too. And I think at the end of the night, I'm not getting bass solos and all this kind of stuff.
Hmm.
But I get the same amount of pleasure knowing like, I set the whole foundation for the rest of the musical show, and
Yep.
yeah, it feels great. And we do get all of our band intros and everything. So like you were saying, it's not just kind of like, go to the side, do your thing, bass player, and then leave and pretend you're not there. It's like not the case. But our role is significantly different than the
Yeah.
multiple guitar solos throughout the night and the a cappella sections and all that, whatever.
But you're right. There's a certain, I think we all have pride in our handiwork. And even if
Yeah.
it's just us are the only ones that have that pride, because everyone else, everybody in the band is wrapped up in their own shit. They're making
Hmm.
sure that they're singing correctly, they're in tune, they're on the right note, they're in the right key, and all the guitar work, everything. So we're the ones that are in our head, but listening to it all. So it's
Yeah.
like we're the conduit between the drums and the guitar.
Yeah.
Harmonically, our left hand is, with all of the guitars and the vocals, but our right hands are with the drummer. So we're the
Hmm.
bridge between all of that.
Yeah. And it's funny because when you really start touring and really trying to lock in, and when you get these bigger sound systems and you start to feel the bass more, you really do learn those intricacies of the left and right hand, and you can feel
Yeah.
the right hand locking in better with the drummer, and you know when
Yep.
it's off, and you know when it's on, and there's like, you feel just the vibrations working together or
Hmm.
not. And I
Yep.
think, yeah, it's been really cool to kind of just learn the bass even more. Like I was obviously good enough at the bass to get the position, but I feel like that was still
Sure.
the starting point because since then I've learned way more. And honestly, I'm not even trying to like stay humble or anything. I can't even watch videos from like 2019, 2021, whatever. Like I just cringe, you know? And I'm sure whatever I'm doing now that I think I'm
Hmm.
doing great, I'm sure in a few years, hopefully if I keep doing my job properly, I'll look back at these years and cringe, knowing that I'm improving. It's important.
Well, how old were you when you started?
When I started playing bass or
Yeah.
guitar, and
Yeah.
so I originally we had a family friend that loaned a guitar actually to my brother. So my brother wanted to start first with guitar. So we actually had a loaner like nylon string classical guitar that I started on,
Nice. Yeah.
but I wasn't actually using it to learn classical music or anything. I was really into like Offspring at the time and Green Day and all that. So I was learning
Nice.
power chords. And
Sure.
without even thinking about it, I guess until now, I guess that must have been great for me because like the spacing on a nylon string guitar to have to play power chords on that and everything. Wow,
Wow.
that was pretty
Yeah.
cool. But yeah, I was maybe like 13 when I started with that. I was in like middle school, grade school. Um, and yeah, I would just kind of play power chords and plunk here or there. I got pretty good at the guitar actually. And then my brother eventually got like an electric guitar. So I would play his. He would always get mad because we were on different school schedules. And he would basically come home from school maybe an hour later. So because I would get home early, I would take the guitar out of his room and start playing it in my room and practice. And he would always get so mad because he'd be like, "That's not your guitar." But yeah, I
Huh?
think when I was 13, I started with guitar and I got pretty good at the instrument. Joined a few bands as a guitar player before eventually buying a bass years later. And that was when I discovered that I loved bass way more. And I just kind of put the
Hmm.
guitar away after that and haven't really touched it since. Like it just
Good.
feels like it tears up my fingers now when I play guitar, Because sometimes when you start that story, I started playing guitar and then I bought a bass, but now I'm like multi-instrumentalist and I'm all over. That's not true with me. I once I just got into bass and really was like, oh yeah, this just like how I wanted to do as a kid. I wanted to play bass. Once I actually got it, my interest in everything with guitar playing just totally like went away. And yeah,
Well, and you got to
100% got
start
replaced.
somewhere. Yeah, you don't
Yeah,
know. And until, like, well, everybody starts just with that. Unless there's someone
yeah,
else that started with a guitar and they want you to play this or something, and
yeah.
it's just how we all start. But I think there's lots of guys that play bass in their bands because that's what the band needed, which that's
Yeah.
fine too. But I don't think they have that love for it that you're talking about.
Yeah, and I think that's maybe where the confusion happens with the general like media listeners when they
Hmm.
confuse bass and somehow thinking that it's guitar light. like, hey, when are you going to actually play guitar? I thought you'd know how to play guitar. Like, oh, you're not good enough. And it's like, but you got to understand, you know, this was a choice and it's a different field. And
Yes.
maybe that's because they've heard stories about so many people that get, oh, we need a bass player. It's easy, play it, which is true, you know, in
Yeah.
that role. In that
Yeah.
role, if they need
It
someone to
is.
just fill in the low end and play root notes, you know, you'll hear stories about, okay, we got a bass player who just filled in because, and which is one side of the equation, but to actually, you know, go to the other side of people who actually love their instruments and take it as a whole craft and learn it, why
Yeah.
would, you know, sometimes I get really confused with, and other, like sometimes I'll even talk to musicians and stuff that'll ask the same questions like, oh, I thought you played
Yeah.
guitar. Don't you know how to play guitar? And it's like, you know, it's weird. Like they don't come up to me and say, how come you're not the keyboard player? Well, because I play bass, you know? It'd be the same
I
thing. You're the
yeah.
bass player. Why don't you play keyboards? I don't know why. But for whatever reason, it's kind of like acceptable to be like, well, why don't you play guitar? You know?
It's
And it,
almost like they're
yeah.
racists, but in a weird way, you know?
Yeah. It's exactly what it is, you know, and I'm tired of it. But yeah,
Like, wait,
which is another
what?
reason too, maybe I love the bass so much more, is because it almost makes, I know how important it is in the role and
Mm,
building like we were talking about. And if people, not in a demeaning way or anything, but just from like a lack of understanding will
yeah.
have the questions of like, well, why don't you play guitar? You can't play guitar or whatever. That makes me realize like even more like, wow, you think what I'm doing is so like unimportant that I love it that much more, you know?
Exactly. It's like, no, this is my thing. This is our thing. And when you meet those like-minded people who think the same way, like, you get it. You totally fucking
Hmm.
get it. And I think I would say that's probably 85 to 90% of bass players that I've met are like that. You know,
Yeah.
we're all very insular. We're kind of prickly because of that attitude that we've gotten from everyone. Like, yeah, I'm a bass player. What the fuck's wrong? You know, like, oh,
Yeah.
you're cool. Oh, okay, cool. You're just asking a
Yeah.
question. You know, you're automatically on the defense. You
Yeah.
know, but we're very, and yes, like we always say, yes, it's easy. Yes, it's easy to play and all of this stuff. But the bands that we play with know how indispensable it is,
Yes.
especially your drummer. And your drummer
Yes.
knows when there's a bass player who's overplaying,
Hmm.
underplay, you know what I mean? Who they know whenever you're doing it right, because there are guys that can get in who were guitar players and like, oh, I'm gonna play bass, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
riff all over the place, and they're gonna love it. Like, well, no, dumbass,
Yeah.
you're stepping on everybody's note. You know,
Yeah.
nobody can get a word in edgewise. You don't know what you're doing because you're not fucking listening.
And you know, it's been really cool to learn essentially Avril's entire catalog, you know, and have to
Yeah,
tour it and everything because I'll get the bass files from the record because I have to learn it note for note, you know. And that is so cool to kind of hear these recordings and know where the bass is fitting in relative to the drums, the
yeah,
guitars, the vocals, where it's overstepping, where it's playing inversions, all of that. And, you know,
yeah,
years of doing that now, I kind of have this sixth sense of like where the bass can fit. Whereas, like you're saying, if you're just a guitar player playing bass, you won't get those intricacies, you know,
no,
and you start stepping over and you don't know where to stop. Because a guitar, like we're talking about, you don't feel it. You know,
no,
you can drive an entire song playing guitar and you're just going to be adding harmonics and frequencies to it. You know, it's not necessarily going to be crushing the feel or what you're like experiencing. But if
yeah.
you're doing that on bass and there's no groove to it and you're just plucking through and driving forward, you know, you can really just, like you said, no one's going to have a chance to get a word in, you know?
That's it. And I love when I hear other guitar players play bass. Like, I mean, we all know, Ron Wood played in the Jeff Beck group, and his bass
Yeah.
playing was fucking incredible. I think Josh Homme from Queens of the Stone Age, the records that he played bass on are incredible. Another great bass
Yeah.
player. I like to hear that, but it's also like, okay, that's cool because they're not afraid to step, and play past the seventh fret like the rest of us.
Yeah. Yep.
But in
It's,
the same, I think they love that freedom of like, oh wow, this is so much fun to play. But it's also like, okay, but once they put it down, we're the ones that are recreating it. But we also have to think of Okay, but there's a slight, you're rushing a little bit right here, and it's
Mm-hmm.
fucking driving me crazy, and I have to listen to it all the time, and you're not with it. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
You know exactly what I mean.
that gets
It,
nuts. And
oh,
gosh, our music director, at this level with like, because everything has to get programmed with our pyrotechnics and the back video walls and the lights and
oh,
all that,
wow.
and
Yeah,
everything has to get like, you got to be tight. And
sure.
so all of our rehearsals will get recorded like multi-track in Pro Tools, and the music director will just listen and solo the bass of all our takes of rehearsals and solo it with the kick drum.
Uh-huh.
And literally, when I first joined, I would get calls being like, "Hey, I listened to this song and that song, and your bass isn't locking in with the kick, or you're rushing this one. You got it." And those aren't things that you can
Wow.
improve like by the next day. You don't
Yeah,
call someone and you're like, "Okay, well then I'll have it tomorrow." Those are things that are like, these are things that you got to develop. You're
yep,
rushing. Yeah, it's a
yep.
hard driving like punk rock song or whatever, but you're still rushing it. You still got to be, and you got to kind of like
Yeah.
you know, which is again, it's those little tiny things that maybe people wouldn't notice, but it's like the little rushing or the dragging and little things like that, just misaligned a little bit. Those are the things that I can't watch those early videos from, like my first
Yeah.
tour or my first few years, because those are the things that I worked so hard to get over and kind of lock in as a bassist that it's just like, oh, I cringe. But you'll never notice it unless you're really like that extra 3% locking into the kick drum is the difference between I can watch the video versus like, oh, this sounds rough, you know?
But think about that though. Okay, you're talking about that extra 3%. That extra 3% is going to make everything sound fuller. It's going to sound it more like a unit. It's going to make Avril's vocals sound even better. It's going to make everything better. And
Hmm.
like, well, just step it back or here. It's not so simple, to do all the
Yeah.
time, every fucking note, every song, every night, the same. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And once you do get it, it helps out everything because everyone else they also have like a base, and it's a bad pun, but you're giving them a baseline, literally, of where to be. You and the drummer
Yeah.
are
And
safety
it
net.
really, exactly. And it's one of those things where it's so tough because if you're not feeling it to start,
Mm-hmm.
and if they're saying like you're rushing or you're not locking in this and it's like a little late, and if
Yep.
you're not feeling it, it's the hardest thing in the world to be like, well, how do I? Because I think I am, you know? And I had to really
Yes.
work hard on that.
Wow.
And so I joined in 2019, and then as we know, the pandemic happened in
Sure.
2020.
Yeah.
So we didn't tour for a few years. And I took those years to just work on the whole catalog, and I was slowing down the songs to like 50%,
Wow.
really locking it into a click
Nice.
track and Pro Tools and I would record it and listen back and figure out like, why am I not, oh, that makes sense, this and that. And I hammered it like crazy. I just worked so hard during the pandemic years to um, because I didn't want it to be like, well, I was good enough to join our band, so as soon as touring's back, I'm right back. I was like, man,
Mm-mm.
I need to
Yeah.
improve. If
Yep.
if I have a position in this industry that, thousands of people would love to have, and it's a really cool,
Yeah.
amazing blessing to have this role, I've got to take it so seriously and show that I'm committed. And yeah, when I came back after, the COVID years, yeah, I just feel like I was a different bassist. And that's why I cringe, because I literally, all the things that I didn't know how to correct yet in 2019 and all that, when I watch those videos, I'm like, oh, I can't. But at the same time, it's cool because you get to see, wow, that was my first tour and look at where I was and blah, blah, blah.
But you're right though, Matt. So many people would just go, "Well, I'm the bass player. I'm fine." And I think, as you were referring to earlier, you're talking about people who just think it's easy to do. I think that's also like a confidence issue with a lot of us. Like, well, is it that easy? I'm always assuming that there's just someone waiting in the wings to just Tanya Harding my fucking hands sometime, like, well, okay, I can do it. Like, oh shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Think
Yeah.
about that. So I think it's kind of where that's why I think a lot of us are prickly about things. Some of
Because
that clowning us has gotten into our psyche of like, well, can anyone do it?
it's weird because as I've been in now for years doing this, I've developed like such a very specific skill set to these
Hmm.
tours and how it works and stuff. And it's so insanely different from the bass player who can play virtuoso slapping stuff and tapping and do all this stuff
Yeah.
on social
Yeah.
media or release their own solo records and stuff, because that skill set doesn't necessarily translate to what's needed for this gig, and vice versa. Definitely vice versa, because I can't do any of that virtuoso stuff, you know?
But
So,
but
but I
they
have a
can't
different
do what
skill
you're
set.
doing. Yes, they can't do what
Exactly.
you're doing. And if somebody said to them, sure, they can do all this tapping and all that shit, like, hey man, you're not locking in with the kick drum. We just need this 4 part here. Like, wait, what? You mean
Yeah.
16 notes? No, 4. So
Yeah.
8? No, goddamn it, 4. You know, they
Yeah.
can't. They don't have that space, and I think a lot of that is ego as well. It's someone wanting to show, oh well,
Hmm.
I'm a bass player, but I can do all this cool stuff. Like, well, yeah, Matt, you're a bass player, and you can definitely do all this cool stuff, and it's called playing the fucking song correctly and making it groove so everyone can sing on top and they can enjoy
Yeah.
the song.
Exactly. And on the other side of that too, like the skill set and I don't really want to call it a skill set. I guess it's more like characteristics of like, are you
Mm-hmm.
willing to just kind of like play the song, all of that. I
Mm-hmm.
have those characteristics. I don't have the skill set to play this massive virtuoso stuff, but those virtuosos and all that who again think, oh, well, that's easy. I can easily play like those. I could easily tour.
Yeah.
Now you also have to have those characteristics of if you play these venues every single night and you're limited to just playing the bass notes that are on this record, and you can't tap and you can't do this and you can't have your 8 string bass and you can't do that, are you going to have a problem with that? And I know that many people will, and guitar
Yeah.
players are the same, and keyboard players and
Mm-hmm.
drummers. There's that area with it too, where it's like, of course, you're a phenomenal,
Musician,
guitar
of
player,
course.
musician.
Yeah, sure.
You're really good, but do you have like the type of personality, or like do you have the characteristics that will allow you to tour with not anybody knowing your name and having to play well below what you think your skill set is? Are you going to
Hmm.
be okay with that? Or is that eventually, because I see this happen, is that eventually going to tear at you so much that you're going to feel like you need to break free and you need people to see what you're really capable of? Because that can get on you too. And I never feel that way because I feel like I
Yeah,
love what I do,
exactly.
you know? Yeah.
You're happy with it's a very workmanlike approach. That's what I'm hearing, and that's what I look. And like you're very happy with it's the same as anyone like in any kind of skilled labor. It's they're
Yeah.
happy with is the really good carpenter. They go home knowing they did a good job. Do
Yeah.
they put it on Facebook or Instagram and like, here's me doing a perfect, cut on this? No, they just do the job and they go home and they know I did a good job. You're
Yeah.
going home knowing you did a good job and that your job is making the song sound great so Avril can sing. So everyone, that's what people are paying for. They're not paying like, oh my God, I wonder how they're going to play that 4 note bass line, you know? And if that's what
I
people
wonder,
are thinking, you're going to go get a different gig, you
that's the
know?
thing, you
They
know?
want to hear the fucking song, which the bass is part of the song. And sometimes the
Yeah.
bass is a big part of the song. And that's
Yeah.
great. Most times it's not. They want to hear the vocals. And unless we're the
Yeah.
vocalist, they're not fucking looking at us.
And it's funny because when you're talking about like the carpenter, like he doesn't go home and show on Facebook what he's done and everything.
No.
I I come back, like you're saying, I have the pride of playing a good show and setting the foundation and everything.
Yep.
And additionally, what keeps me from wanting to post anything like that is kind of like I understand the level that I'm playing, and it's such a blessing to
Yeah.
be where I'm at that I feel like if I was now putting it out there of like, look at how great I am, look at this, sometimes it can come off as like condescending to others and
Uh-huh.
bragging and all that. So
Yeah.
that's another reason
Wow.
too,
Yeah.
like that keeps me from doing that, because I don't want other people to feel inferior, or anything like that. So usually what I'll do is I'll try to boost other people up and try to give advice and try to get
Sure.
other people touring. I don't want to show how great of a job I'm doing because A, like we were already talking about, I feel like I have a lot of room for improvement, which keeps me doing that.
We all
And
do.
B,
Yeah.
I don't want it to come off like I'm bragging because then people, it is different if you're playing a show at like a club with your own band and you're up and coming and you're like really young and it's like one of your first few shows and you get momentum and you're proud of that. And it's another thing to be playing bass for an established artist globally and try to show that to people because you can get the pushback of, oh, good for you. We're all not that lucky. And I'm not saying that that's a negative. I'm saying if you're not aware enough of what you're doing, you can come off that way of like, look at what I'm doing. If you don't have that like sense to just take the pride of doing a good job
Yep.
and letting that be the reward.
But you say lucky. I disagree with you on lucky because I've discussed this with my brother and I've discussed this in our careers and anyone that's in any of our positions who have joined bands and not started the bands. And I think it's not a sense of being lucky. I know a lot of people like to say that because they can't comprehend all of the hard work that you've done, right? To get there, to get where you were. And we'll discuss that in a minute of how you got into her band. But what I'm saying is you obviously worked your ass off night after night. And from hearing you speak, I'm sure you worked your ass off, period, learning music, practicing, just to make yourself ready. You go without food. You go without showering. You do all of these things. And
Yeah.
then when that instance happens, yes, it's a lucky happenstance. You're in the right place at the right time. But if you don't have the skill set, if you don't have the confidence in yourself, if you don't know what the fuck you're doing, then it's going to go out the door like, hey, man, come in here and do this. Okay, great. You go and try it and then just end up, not doing a good job. Well, then you were the wrong person. Our
Yeah.
next person. So there's going to be different people. You're the one that was ready and prepared. So that's,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people like to say lucky, and I get it, and but that's just because they can't comprehend that. Oh well, you just looked into this. No, I did not.
Yeah.
None of us looked into anything. We found out about gigs, and we had the skill set and the years of experience to make it work, pretty much. So
Yeah.
that's what I want to get to. Like, so what was the thing after talking to you were playing your brother's guitar? What was the
Oh, yeah.
thing, or who was the person? What was like the light, the moment, like the spark that made you want to do that?
Like I said, I really, for whatever reason, it just seemed like guitar. I knew a lot of my friends played guitar and I knew that, and no one really played bass. So there's still like this fascination to it where it's like, oh, I want to do that because it's different. I've never played a bass before. And I think in a weird way, maybe I inherited it like genetically because I never saw a bass or whatever, but my grandfather back in like, I don't know, the 30s or whatever, 20s or 30s, and growing up in Brooklyn, like New York City, he used to be an upright bass player in I think like a jazz
Rad.
band, and he used to
Nice.
play with his brother, and they were gig like really late night. They were playing like the New York City scene and all that. Um, Obviously before my dad was born and everything like that, because then once basically what happened was my grandparents moved from New York City to like Buffalo, and that's where they grew up. That's where my dad was born and all that. And then by the time I was born and I met my grandfather, it was always just kind of stories that he used to play bass and all that. But I never
Wow.
saw the basses around. I never saw pictures of him playing basses. I would hear it from like my great aunts or whatever that they would tell stories about how he and his brother would gig around town. So maybe it was just something that like was in my blood, that I wanted
Wow.
to play bass.
Yeah.
Um, and it just really was something where when I played bass, because I started getting into music production, which is actually what I studied in college before moving
Hmm.
out to LA, and I was really into songwriting. So I bought a bass as like a songwriter essentially. And that
Sure.
was when I fell in love with it. I was just like, this is amazing. And when
Wow.
people found out that I had a bass, artists I was producing or songwriters I was working with, they'd be like, hey, you want to play bass live? We're playing a gig. Oh, yeah, sure. So I ended up becoming a bass player that way. Not necessarily that they needed a
Wow.
bassist and I was just,
Yeah.
you know, hey, I'm your friend. I'll be the fill-in bassist in that regard. But I was more or less like the fill-in bassist of hey, you crushed it in the studio as a bassist. Come out and play live with me. So I was playing
Nice.
live with hardcore bands, with country singers. I was playing all over like the Northeast, down south, and everything. And that was kind of how I got my start as a bass player. I literally was
Wow.
studying music production, but because I was recording bass on my productions, people liked it and wanted me to play live for them or on their records. Yeah, that was literally. how that got started.
That is awesome. And
Yeah.
so you were coming into it more of thinking about like, that makes more sense than what you were talking about is like the placement of it instead of just playing. So many people will get, the majority of us will listen to bass players. A lot of guys, they'll listen to Mike Dirnt or Matt Freeman or me. You're listening to Getty or these, and that's how they get into it. But you were getting into it from where it was in relation to the song, where it was in relation to the recording, how, so
Yeah.
that's very, 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 very cool. So I'm
And
sure
that,
you're, oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah, that was like really interesting because when I first started doing the productions, because I had been a guitar player for years, like we're saying, and I knew how to write chord progressions and blah blah blah. But when I started actually playing bass for the productions, I remember getting like really scared at first. Like, I don't know how to write bass parts and all that. And and
Hmm.
you're right, I had to figure out how to make it work in the
Wow.
mix and
Yeah.
not step on the vocals and all that. And that was
Yep.
where I just fell way more in love with the bass. And then
Hmm.
I kind of just started treating the guitars and everything else as like secondary to it. As long as I can get the
Wow.
drums and bass locked in, then I can get everything else working.
Everything's on top of it. Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense. Well, then
And
how did all of that lead you into Avril's? What happened with,
so, it's really funny. So on the East Coast, like I said, because I went to school in like New York City and everything, and that's where I started my production and all that. And I was getting picked up as a bass player, even though all I was doing was trying to be a producer and a songwriter. Everyone wanted me to play bass. So I wasn't getting much work as a producer or anything. So I moved out to LA
hmm,
in 2018
okay.
to be a producer. Because I'm like, oh, they have all the big labels and the big studios and all that. I'll be a songwriter out in LA and a producer and all that. So I moved out to LA, and for the first time in years, I had to get a job just because it was like really expensive in LA.
Hmm. Yeah.
So I started working at a retail job, and I was cashing out somebody. It was a retail job in Burbank, and I was cashing out someone and just making small talk. And the guy was like, "Hey, I haven't seen you here. Are you new?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I just moved here." He's like, "Where are you from?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm from Buffalo." He's like, "Oh, I'm from Pittsburgh." And I'm like, "Oh, cool." He's like, "What are you here for?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm a musician." Again, trying to be a producer. I didn't
Sure.
say that, but I said I'm a musician. So he's like, "Cool. What do you play?" He didn't say, "What are your aspirations? What are you trying to do?" He said, "What do you play?" So I said, "Oh, I play bass." you know, and here it is full circle.
Great.
And he,
Yes.
so he, so again, I wasn't trying to be a bass player. I wasn't trying to
No.
network. I was just working my job. And he's like, "Oh, cool. I do too." And I remember at the time, it was so weird. I was just like this kid from Buffalo. You can't be like a full-time musician or whatever. Like it just seems so whatever. And I remember it seems so weird now, but I remember saying, "Cool, is that like what you do full time?" Like so dumb. Because then he's like, "Yeah, I'm actually the bass player for Gwen Stefani," and I'm like, "Oh, cool." He's like, "Yeah,
Nice.
and
Nice.
I do a residency with Shania Twain. We're going back and forth, but he's like, we should hang out sometime. I can show you the ropes." And I'm like, "Sure, whatever." And my brother, it's funny, the one that had got the guitar before me originally, he had also moved out to LA. And I saw him like the next day. And I'm like, "Hey, I met like Gwen Stefani's bassist. He's gonna like help me." And he's like, "Man, you're brand new to LA. Like, I'm sure it's not. You gotta watch out. It's never gonna happen. You gotta slow down. Everyone's
Fucking older
famous in
brothers.
LA,
We
blah blah
suck.
blah."
Yeah.
Yeah. And then sure enough, the guy texted me, "Hey, here's my address. Come on over." So I went over
Wow.
to his house, and he told me, "Man, if you're a bass player, there's cool showcase nights around LA. You should start playing and, get around town, blah blah blah. Here, I'll message my friend." So again, I was in LA for 2 weeks at this time, and already I've got this referral and people saying, "Hey, I met this new bass player. Come out to the
Fantastic.
clubs." So I started
Awesome.
playing clubs as a bassist, and basically what ended up happening was maybe 8 months later, um, it was in 2019, Avril was doing her first tour in 5 years, a comeback
Yeah.
tour. So her music director was friends with, the bass player that I met at the retail store. And he called and he's like, "Hey, do you know any referrals who would be good for Avril's band?" He's like, "Yeah, you should meet Matty." He moved to town. I met him last year. He plays the Viper Room a lot. He's playing like tomorrow night, actually. You should go check him out. So the music director came out without even knowing it, scouted me, watched, because I was doing backing vocals and I was doing this and I was checking all the boxes of what they were looking for without
Nice.
knowing it.
Yeah.
And the next day he called and he's like, "Hey, would you be interested?" Not offering me the job right then and there, but kind of saying, "Hey, would
Sure.
you be interested in being the bassist for Avril Lavigne?" And I'm like, what? You know? And I'm like, nah, no, I'm good. And, you know, I'm like, no, this
Nah,
is great.
click.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, so it was great. So, oh man, this was the whole thing. I forgot about this until I'm like recapping the story. So I used to go in and out of Canada all the time, being from Buffalo. It's like a
Sure.
10-minute drive. And right before I moved to LA, I went to Toronto with my brother, different brother. I have two. And for whatever reason, I lost my passport after coming back to the States. And I'm like, oh, whatever, I'll figure it out after the fact. Moved out to
Oh,
LA, never thought about it.
shit.
So, he's like, hey, would you be interested in being Avril's bassist? Blah, blah, blah. So he asks me, the preliminary questions.
Of
And
course.
it's really funny because I literally, like, I bombed every one, it seemed like. I don't even know how this is possible. He's like, have you ever toured before? No. Have you ever done this? No. Do you have in-ear monitors? No. Do you have like, literally every
Do
question
you
was
own
no.
a bass? No.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Even
fuck.
now is like, how many
Gig's
basses do
yours.
you have? One. You don't have any backups? No. Like I feel like I bombed every question. But the one question that was crazy because he's like, he told me like, okay, well, we can figure that out if you get the position. You can figure out basses, you can get monitors. But the
Sure.
one question, he's like, do you have a passport? And I was like, oh no, I lost it. And it was so dumb. I'm like, why would I even say that? And he's like, what do you mean you lost it? It's a yes or no question. Yes or no, do you have a passport? And I'm like, yes. And he's like, do you have it in your possession? Can you do this? And it's
No.
either
It's a
like, and
yes
if I don't,
and
then it's a
no
no.
question.
Yeah, so it's a yes and no. So it ended up being a no. So,
Uh-huh.
and ironically enough, it was right around this time because it was like 4th of July weekend. And he was like, okay, well, everything else you can sort out. However, if you don't have a passport, I can't even recommend you to this gig because we start the tour in Canada. So it's like,
Fuck.
if you don't have bases and you get the gig, we'll sort it out. In your monitors, whatever. So he's like, tomorrow's the last business day before the weekend and they're making a decision.
Oh,
So he's like, you have tomorrow to get a passport. If you don't, I can't even submit you for the gig. And I'm not even kidding. I did not sleep a wink. I'm like, oh man. So I went to the federal building the next day, Ubered
mm,
there, and I was like a broke musician. It took like $50 each way to Uber. And basically I got there and I'm like, hey, I kind of fudged it a little bit. Hey, I'm the new bassist for Avril. Not really, but like, hey, I'm the new bassist for Avril. I need a passport because we're starting a tour. But
fake it
what
till
they
you
said
make
was
it.
like,
Fuck yeah,
yeah,
dude.
exactly.
Good
But
job.
they were
Fuck
like,
yeah.
oh, that's awesome. So just get us a letter from the tour manager with the tour dates and all that. And I'm like,
Ooh.
oh, they're not going to do that because I'm not the
Oh.
bassist. I'm like, okay, whatever. So I called the music director. I told him the news and he's like, well, based on the info you're telling me. And I'm like, oh, I didn't get it. He's like, well, based on the info, I'll submit you to the gig. And if you can get a passport, we'll figure it out at that point if you get the gig. And submitted it. And like 2 days later, without an audition or anything, just kind of getting scouted through the Viper Room and clubs in LA, I got the job. That was it.
That's
And then the passport
amazing,
got
dude.
sorted. But it's really funny with the passport because when I went to get it, um, they're like, okay, well, here's the blah, blah, blah. Here's your paperwork, and you'll get your passport in like 8 to 12 weeks or whatever. And it's like, oh, but I need it immediately. Oh, well, then just pay like $80 and you can get it tomorrow. It's like, how is it that like, it takes 12 weeks for the passport to arrive unless it's like, and literally they told me like, oh, just come in tomorrow at 10 a.m. And they could have it printed and everything. So it would be like, how is it that they have the capability to print these passports and get it set within
Yeah.
like 12
Well,
hours but like if you don't pay the processing, well, now it takes 12 weeks. Like it's so funny how that works.
welcome to America, right?
Yeah.
So
So
you
long
can
story
do it
short,
immediately. You just need $80. Okay, cool.
yeah.
Gotcha.
So when I told
Gotcha.
my friend who referred me, he's like, well, dude, why would you tell him no? Like he's like, here's going forward, say yes and figure it out later is the rule
Yes.
of the game.
Yeah.
And now I understand
Everybody.
that. Yep.
Whoever is listening to this podcast, A, say, I play bass, period. And
Yeah,
then two, fake it until you make it. Just fake it
that's
and
right.
go for it. Yeah. I mean, think
That's
about
right.
that. If you had just said, maybe, oh, I'm a guitar player. Oh, okay. You know,
Yeah.
but I mean, how many people play guitar? How many people want to be singers? I mean, someone saying, oh, I play bass. Oh, shit. Well, that's different. Not
Hmm.
everyone does. So that is a great fucking story.
And especially because in LA, it is true that the music scene, there is the circle of bassists who are straight
Hmm.
up just bassists and that's it. And,
Hmm.
and there's a whole team of of people, not team, but just like a whole circle of musicians that are dedicated to that, and they have it in their soul. And you know, in the scene, you know who the bass players are because it's not necessarily like who can play bass. It's like
Sure.
who's the bassist. And that is super important too because like a tour like this, they're looking for a bassist. They're not looking for, hey, who's able to play a bass, you know? And I think because yeah,
Great
technically I have the
designation.
ability to,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, huge designation with that. And it's funny because I remember, you know, because you got the flip side too in LA. And I remember like I would meet, you know, at the time when I was Ubering a lot and trying to network through like Uber drivers and stuff, and they'd be like, "Yeah, link me up. I'm a bass player too." Blah blah blah. And I follow them on Instagram, but then their profile is nothing but like film director, actor, mentor, fitness director, like
Mentor.
yeah, it's like
Influencer.
author,
Like, wait, what?
influencer, vlogger,
Nin
technician,
ninja.
like
Like, what? What?
yeah.
How the
And it's
fuck
so
are you a
weird. And
ninja?
yeah, and I think that, you know, I think it's important too, because I've had people, I remember when I first moved to LA, I had people telling me that I was networking and marketing incorrectly by only saying I'm a bass player. Well, if you know how to play bass or if you know how to play guitar, you should put that on there. And if you know how to produce and you're a mixer and you do this and do you do any acting, do you do this? Like you should put that all in there because you're leaving opportunities off the table. But as I showed in the story, I think the opposite is true. If I'm
I
all of
agree.
those things, no one knows me as anything. So when they say, "Hey, who's a bassist?" It's funny because at the time, even now it's faded, but like I would have like the super bright pink hair and I was wearing a lot of eyeliner at the time. So it was kind of like a bassist who would be good for Avril. Oh, okay, Maddie. It fits the box. It was really easy because they knew their basses and then who had the
Exactly.
pink hair. It makes it a lot easier. And so it was weird because when I did get the gig, at first there was a lot of weird drama and stuff like that because people in the scene, because I was new to LA. Now, granted, I went to music school in New York City. I did all my training and learning and mistakes and all that in the clubs in New York City and on the East Coast.
Sure. Which
So when
is
I came out
hard as
to
shit
LA,
too.
that's why I moved to LA because I ran out of opportunities there. So when it happened quickly, I think there was that confusion of like, hey, who's this guy? He comes out of nowhere and blah, blah, blah. And, because there were a lot of people who maybe were in LA for 10 years at the time. And also, in addition to played bass, played guitar and played drums and did this and acted and blah, blah, blah. And they weren't getting their moment yet. And I think
Yeah.
it's maybe because they're spreading themselves too thin. And also,
Yeah.
you can't get mad when something is right for one other person because I'll tell you the truth, and I've said this to everybody. If I wasn't Avril's bassist, I don't know where I would fit anywhere else. Like I'm a perfect fit for that, personality wise. Like the genre, everything is just
Uh-huh.
cool, and I'll never back down and say I'm not perfect for that because I feel like,
Hmm.
yeah, that's the right gig for me. I got it. Because if I didn't have that, I don't know where I would fit. I'm not a virtuoso. I'm not super experienced with all kinds of other genres and all that. And, I don't know. It just was right. And I think anyone who's maybe upset about me getting this has to look inside and figure out what's right for them because whatever you're right for, you're going to get,
Yeah. Would they be right for her? And that's the thing now. You could have shown up for that, and within one tour, her and the MD could have gone, nope, you are not right.
Hmm.
We need someone different. So they made that decision that you were the right person for it. They made the right call by hiring you. Other people who might have been doing it longer or whatever, or who were an entrepreneur and an influencer and a ninja, for 30 fucking years, they, they could play it. Anybody can play these gigs, but are they right for the gig? And that's
Yeah.
what people looking for musicians are looking for, the right person, not the person who can do it. A lot of people
Yeah.
can do, a lot of drummers can do different bands and stuff, a lot of guitar players, a lot of that. It's the right person.
Yeah.
That's what matters. And that's what I don't think. Oh, and it took me a while to figure that out when I wasn't doing anything. Like, how did that guy get that fucking gig? Or how did this? Oh, okay. And now I understand it. And I'm sure people look at my old ass and go, how the hell did he get that? I can do that. It's super easy. Like, well, you might be able to get up there and play it. A
Yeah.
lot of it, people can get up there and play us, but are they the right person to fit within that scene, within that environment? As you well
Yeah.
know, it's all a different environment, and we all, once you get in, like, oh wow, I found my clan, I found my
Yeah.
people. Wow.
Yeah. It is true. Yeah. You'll find it for sure. You find your
And that's what
circle
I'm
and
thinking. Yeah, and that's what you did. You found your people, you know. You're
Yeah.
hanging out and you said the right thing. And but also you're the right person, but it was the right time. It's not you weren't lucky. You worked your ass off from both coasts, and it's not like you went into you were started off in New York, which is fucking hard scene. Like,
Hmm.
I'm going to go to the other hardest scene, LA, and made your way that way. So it's okay. Yeah. Why didn't you? Like, I had a friend that was telling another mutual friend about whenever my brother got his gig, and he was like, huh, who would have thought? Well, you know what? Everyone would have thought when he got
Yeah.
that gig. So when you say that, I wouldn't, I don't know. I guess, why wouldn't you have gotten that gig over these other
Yeah.
people? You worked your ass off in New York. Like you said, you ran out of opportunities there. There are people there who've been there forever who still haven't ran out of opportunities. You're like, no, I squeezed it dry. I'm going to go find something else. Not a lot of people do that. They just stay. And that's the
Yeah.
other thing. They don't have that adventuresome, they don't have that sense of that spirit to go and look like, I'm happy. Well, okay, maybe being happy and content, which is completely fine, but that's also the thing that makes people not venture out where they don't get those gigs.
Yeah.
So to those people, fuck them. You know,
Exactly. Yeah.
I've got some nerd questions. I'm going to let you go in a
Oh,
little
okay,
bit. I
cool.
know, but I've got nerd questions. So like right
Okay, cool.
now, what are you playing? Bass and amp wise, what are you doing?
Bass and amp wise, I'm
Inquiring
doing
people
a.
want to know. Really, it's just
That's right.
me, but I mean, I still it's my show, so fuck it.
Yeah, there you go. It's funny because the first bass I bought was a Fender P bass, and I just so awesome. And I
Nice,
bought it in Buffalo. I bought like the American P bass. That's the bass I moved out to LA with. And then
awesome.
Avril is a Fender artist as well, so that was kind of cool when they saw me playing the P bass. That Fender was really nice to me, and like, oh, you need some basses? Okay, well here you go. Here's this. So exclusively, I'm still Fender, and I would
Cool,
say I have a Jaguar. Um,
cool.
that I use on tour. I have a jazz bass. Other than that, I've got like three or four P basses. And I'm very simple because again, it's funny in terms of being a nerd with bass. Gosh,
Yeah,
I am so not into like the wood type and the radius and all that and the
I
electronics.
know.
I am more of like, is it musical? Is it easy to play?
Yeah.
Cool. I love it. And so, Fender even sent me a few years ago, they sent me a PJ bass, which had like active pickups and I could swap and jazz pickups and P bass pickups and everything. And even that was like excessive for me. It's like, oh man, we got all this and blah blah blah. I'm just a straight up like, give me those two knobs and
Yeah,
call it a day and a single set of pickups.
that's
So
all
yeah,
you need.
I use P bass, and when I'm on tour, what I'll do, I'm the only one who's actually running like analog stuff. So because
Oh
every
wow.
all the guitars and everything are they're going through like Kempers and Helix and
Sure.
Quad Cortex, all that stuff. Um, I'm still going direct to the board, so I don't actually use an amp on stage, which is a bummer,
Yeah.
but I do get to use like really cool analog stuff. So I'm using, um, have you heard of what is it called? The Vintage Rig? I think it's by Origin Effects. It's
Oh yes, 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 yes.
it's is that what it's called? A vintage rig, or I'm gonna know the name right after that. But basically, what it is, it's an it's an analog amp sim essentially, quote unquote. But it's based on like an Ampeg SVT, and it's really cool. And the XLR
Yes.
out has some analog uh, cab simulation on it to simulate the compression of what would happen if you're playing through like an 8x10 cabinet, and it has
Wow.
some really cool feel to it. Oh, it's called the Bass Rig, is what it's called. It's
Okay.
called the
By
Origin Effects
origin.
Bass Rig. Origin
Nice.
Effects, yeah. So
Nice.
going
Okay.
into that, so I have that on the whole time I'm playing the show. So it essentially is kind of it smooths everything out so that by the time that gets split from front of house and everything, it's kind of the same thing as if I had an 8x10 being set up
Sure.
on stage. And then through that, I've got some dark glass distortion pedals that I use. The
Yes.
B7K, I've
Yes.
got two of
Yes.
those. One's a really gnarly distorted one, and one's just a straight up, mild overdrive kind of thing. I'm constant. It's cool because everyone else has their patches automated, and if you look at me during the show, I still get to do the little like tap dancing, turn
Yeah,
on and
it's
off the
fun.
pedals, all that. Yeah, it's super fun.
It's fun. It's so
Yeah.
much fun, man.
I got some compressors on. I got like a Cali 76 compressor too, which is also by Origin Effects.
Origin, yeah. I
Um,
had one of those. I couldn't figure it out. And it was obviously user operator error, as we figured
yeah,
out at the beginning of the podcast when I was trying to get, I
yeah,
but I think it's a great company. They make great stuff.
yeah. Oh, they're really cool. I love that unit. The other one I have, maybe you've used this before. It's the by Aguilar. It's called the TLC compressor. Um,
No,
Another this one's more transparent, clean compressor, whereas like the Cali 76 colors it. It really like
sure.
saturates it mildly.
Yeah.
The TLC is really fast, mild compression,
Huh.
and so I have that set because on our tour, my P bass has like the drop D switch on it where I can
Oh,
swatch it down,
yeah.
swatch it. I
Nice.
can't tell you
Yeah.
swap it, switch it. I can
Yeah.
switch down to like standard drop D. So that P bass I'll use for all my half step tunings, my standard, and my drop D. But then some of her songs were actually recorded on like 5 string bass. But on our tour, instead of having a 5 string, I use a 4 string, but I just use the BEAD tuning. So it's essentially a
Smart.
5 string, but without the top high G string, which you'll never use for the most part in that
Yeah.
context. So I still use a 4 string, but anything that uses the BEAD tuning, I go through the TLC compressor and I have it all set for like the super low end extended range
Nice.
half step and everything saturates through like the Cali 76. So I essentially have like 2 chains that I'll feed through on my board, but each of them at some point does go to that Origin Effects bass rig, which goes to the front of house. So everything at
Okay.
some point gets smoothed out as if I was running a board through a fridge cabinet behind me and swapping
Nice.
out like my BEAD basses, half step, all that kind of stuff.
It's fairly simple. I mean, and I'm not being smart
Yeah,
ass at all. I mean, that's
yeah,
fairly simple. I mean, to
super
me,
simple setup.
Yeah.
And and before that, have you ever used the RNDI, the Neve DIs, the active DIs?
Okay. Yes. Well, we are now. Like I think right when we
Yeah,
started our tour, our front of house Jeff Dayton, he was talking about it. He goes, "Dude, I think I'm gonna get one of these Neve DIs for your bass." I went,
oh,
"Let's do it. We'll go in halvesies. I'll buy it with you." He goes, "Okay."
yeah,
Then he goes, "You know what? I was listening. I think we're good." I'm like, okay. So
yeah,
then I think we had a couple of days break and we came back. He had it. I'm like, why does everything, because in my ears it sounded amazing. And I was getting
yeah,
these people talking about it. And he said, oh, yeah, I got that DI. And like the dumbass, I didn't even look behind me and to see that it was on top of my amp. And I'm like,
yeah.
I told you I would get this. Nah, I wanted it anyway. And it's, my God, it's so good. I don't
Oh
know
yeah,
what the fuck. You can
yeah,
hear it even so much better in the ears, man. It's
yeah.
incredible.
That was oh
Oh,
my gosh, I remember. So my very first rehearsal ever with Avril, and the backline companies there, they're setting up all of our rigs and getting the sounds set up, and they plugged me in again. They put me into the Neve, similar situation like you. They plugged me into the Neve, and they're like, "Hey, here's your DI you're going to use." And immediately in the ears, and like that first show, like it just sounded so good. It was just amazing. So I went to Guitar Center that day and bought one and came back the next day, and everyone was like, "Dude, why would you do that? It's supplied by the." Again, I'm the new bassist, and people are just like, "Why would you do that? Don't buy gear that's supplied by the tour rental. You don't need that." And I'm like, "Trust me, like this is
mm-mm.
insane. This is
Yeah.
so good. I never want to be without it." So I bought one that day, and now I have one mounted. So my signal gets split. So I go first into like the DI, and then that goes direct to front of house, and then the split signal goes through all my chain. So, and then they
Wow.
blend it as needed.
So it's
And then
already at a high quality, right? When you go in, like whenever they're getting it, it's already past the
yeah,
DI. That Neve. Nice.
they're getting the
Nice.
pure DI, and then you know what else they do? So they have the pure DI, and then they have my whole analog chain, which I'm super proud of because we did like a TV broadcast, and the first time I was originally on like digital amp sims and everything, and they
Yeah.
gave me like a rental unit of just like some dark glass and blah blah blah, and it was like, here you go, here's your reduced rig for the TV broadcast, analog, do it. I watched the broadcast. I'm like, that sounds way better. I'm gonna keep that. So yeah, so I ended up putting together a whole analog rig. So the front of house, they get DI, they get all my pedals, And then they also have sub bass that's programmed on some of the songs as well, so
Wow.
that when we're playing, they just get like a pure octave lower sine wave that's just pumping through the subs. So it's like the bass is so meaty when you're hearing this.
That's
And then
awesome.
they have so much control of whether how much of that sub they want in there, how much of my distorted bass, how much of my DI bass they want. Yeah, it's and then also it gives more capabilities for everyone to get their mixes right for the in-ear mixes. Because
Sure.
if some
Yeah.
people want more of just my DI bass and they don't want all my distorted, they can mix and match that. So there's so much control. But yeah, I nerd
See,
out a lot with the
this is the
rig.
nerd part. This is what I
Yeah.
love about, and
I love having
also
the
I'm,
only analog rig on the tour as well. And
well,
actually doing the stomping myself, it's so fun.
and I ask everyone that, but also in my head, I'm like, all right, that sounds pretty fucking good. I'm gonna try that. Well,
Yeah.
this is my last question, and then I'll let you go to enjoy your mason jar.
Yeah.
Now that you've got energy for the day,
That's right.
like what's coming up for you guys now? What do you have personally coming up?
So no tours this year. So we wrapped up her greatest hits tour last year, which actually was supposed to end in 2024. But because it was so successful, we added some extra legs in
Nice,
2025, which was awesome.
nice.
So we're in between tours with that. With me personally, I'm writing music. I'm going to be releasing some music this year.
Awesome.
I've got a lot of my friends on it, and this was my first time of actually like during the pandemic, I released some instrumentals and just kind of fun, creative things to keep me going, just whatever. And this time was the first time that I was bringing in some of my friends that are vocalists, a lot more of my guitar player friends and producer friends, engineering. And I'm like, let's do some real songs, because
Yeah.
not to say the other ones weren't real, but everyone was always, wanting vocals and lyrics and they want to know more. And I got to
Sure.
a point where I'm like, I want to do that too. So I've got some songs that'll be coming out later this year. Super stoked with how they're turning out. In terms of a nerd, I see you've got like all your Star Wars stuff. I'm more of a video game, like old school video game nerd. So I'm more of like
Yeah.
8-bit nerd, 16-bit. So this record's cool because I'm using a lot of like digital instruments of like 8-bit Atari sounds, Nintendo sounds,
Wow.
Sega Genesis things. So there's a lot of
Kick
cool
ass.
program stuff. I'm playing bass on the whole thing, so there is actual bass on it. But then additionally, I'll have like some 8-bit bass or 8-bit lo-fi drums, and it's super
Nice.
cool. It's gonna be a mix of I don't know, electronic sounds, arcade sounds.
Is that going to be
It's
under
gonna be
your
fun.
name?
It will be. So this will be
Okay.
under the Maddie name. So it'd be kind of cool.
Nice.
It'll be my first time doing a kind of a solo thing. So I'm bringing in like I said, cool list of collaborators on this one. Very excited with
Good.
who I've got coming in. Super fun.
When it comes out, come back on
Oh,
and
I would love
whenever
to.
you're ready, we do that. Okay?
Yeah.
Because I
Oh,
would
I
like
would
to
love
hear
to.
this. Yeah.
Oh, it's gonna be. Actually, you know what? I'll send you some of the tracks as they are right now after the
Good.
session. You'll be like,
Please do.
oh, I want to hear that.
I want to hear this.
And then
But when it comes out, oh shit balls. Whenever it
that's the
comes
thing.
out, but I would like to, for everyone to be able to, I want to talk about the making of it. You know what I
Oh,
mean? Everything.
yeah. Oh, I would
So,
love to. And then additionally, this is kind of funny. So I'm allowed to talk about it now because it's going to get announced pretty soon. But I'm actually going to be, as we were just saying, focus on one thing and don't muddy the waters of what you're capable of. Well, just because I have a friend in the film industry and he's producing a movie, I'm actually going to be making my acting debut in a horror movie
hell yes.
later this year.
Nice.
So my friend, his name's Clint Howard. He's like the character actor who's been in all kinds of movies.
Ron Howard's brother.
That's right.
Yes.
So
Nice. Awesome.
believe it
That's
or
great.
not, that the retail store I was working at, where I met the person who referred me to Avril's gig a year later, I actually met Clint there and didn't really know who he was or didn't recognize him just because I was like working and blah blah blah. And he and I got to be like friends before I realized who he was, and it was kind of cool. And
Yeah.
we have a friendship that's been lasting now for years. He's come to a few Avril shows and stuff. It's been awesome.
Awesome.
But he was in a movie called The Ice Cream Man in the 90s. It was like a really campy slasher, you know. almost like Goosebumps kind of thing, where it's
Uh-huh. I
like,
remember
you
it. I
know.
remember it. I'm old as
Well, then,
shit. Of course I remember it. So.
so if you know this, you'll be happy to know that he's currently making another Ice Cream Man, which is a reboot
Nice.
of the original.
Yes.
And as the name says, it's another Ice Cream Man, meaning it's not a sequel, it's not a continuation. Clint is in the movie, he is playing the Ice Cream Man in the movie, but he wants everyone to know that it's another Ice Cream Man, it's a different one. And
Nice.
it's going to be telling the story of the Ice Cream Man from a different perspective. So I will be in it more than just a cameo. I actually have like a role in the movie.
Awesome.
And they're going to be doing a screening of the original Ice Cream Man on August 7th in Burbank at the AMC as part
Cool.
of the anniversary year and part of the Burbank Film Fest, depending on when this podcast episode airs. But there's going to be a panel with the cast of another Ice Cream Man talking about the production and the details of this new movie. So
Dude,
I've got
congrats.
some music and a movie coming out this year. So it'd be kind of cool. Thank
Well,
you.
when you get all of that, like definitely the record, let me know, please. And just
Cool.
please come back.
I would love
Unless,
to.
but from the sounds of it, you might be fucking busy. So,
You know, I never know. It'll be like my first tour where I didn't really know what to expect. This will be my first movie, so I don't know the timeline or how to work and blah blah
it's
blah and
exciting
production
though.
shoots. It's gonna be
Yeah.
fun. So it could be insanely busy, or it could just be like, oh, that's it, it's done already, you know.
Yeah. Like
But
I'm
in
done.
terms of the
Shit.
record, yeah, but yeah, the record's not taking too much of my time away, so I'm good with that. I should have that done pretty relatively soon, and yeah, I would love to come on back and drink more
Totally.
coffee and chat more.
Talk about it. Dude, thank you again for doing this, Matt. I really,
Oh,
really,
thank
really
you.
appreciate you. And then we got to have a shout out to our other boy, Matt from Blue October, for introducing us. Because he's just, I had never met him until we did the show. I'm like, wait,
Oh,
did we
really?
just become best friends? You know? So
He has that power, It's just like you
he
meet him, it's like
does.
he's
He
everybody's
does.
best friend. I don't know
He
how he does it.
does. He's like
Yeah.
America's best friend. It's like if you don't like him, like, wait, what's wrong with you? It's not what's wrong with Matt. Like, what's wrong with you? There's something wrong with you if you don't like him. You know,
Oh yeah.
just
That's
a
the perfect test.
great person, just a great guy. So
Yeah.
thank you again for doing it. It's so good to meet you, obviously, and I don't even have to tell you. You know.
I know. And hopefully our tour schedules will sync up at some point and we
I
can,
would fucking love that.
we can
Yeah.
meet up. That'd be
Thank you.
amazing.
How can people find you if they want to reach out?
They find me on Instagram mostly.
Okay.
Matt Reilly, Matt Reilly Productions is
Hey.
the handle. Yeah,
Mhm.
because again, I've done nothing but market myself as a producer, and all I do is get work as a bassist, and apparently now an actor. I don't know what I need to do to be a producer, but
Matt Reilly,
but yeah,
football player. That way you'll get the
yeah,
production jobs if you say you're a football player. Okay.
that's
So
right.
just do that.
In my luck, I'd put out Matt Reilly football player, and people would be like, "Oh, you're a football player? We've been looking for a football," and then. It just seems to be the way that things work for me.
Yeah, I am. I'm a fucking linebacker.
Sure.
Okay.
I will be, yeah,
Great.
exactly.
Fuck. Okay, sure. Why not? I am a football player now. Fuck it.
That's right. That's going to be the exciting next era for me.
Thank you again, Matt, for doing this, man. I'll see you. I appreciate it.
I had such a good time. Thank you.
And that was Matt Reilly, everybody. Just a great guy. Again, I haven't met him before. He was a contact I made from our other friend, Matt Nevesky from Blue October, another great guy. And I just love Reilly's story, and especially his thoughts about bass playing, what he discovered after he started playing it. So I don't think I've ever really had a guest put it that way. So it was just very, very, very inspirational to me, kind of things that I saw in my own head and thought about, and kind of like, wow, I was right. So that's just why I love to do this show, to hear about what everyone's thoughts are as they're playing up on stage, because it's all we get to do. We're in our own heads, we're playing, we're trying to keep it together, and yet after we're done, we're always going back and thinking about our role in the band. How do we do this? Are we doing it right? Does anyone care? And I think sometimes it seems to be that the only people who really care, obviously other than our band members, is other bass players. And because that's all we have is time to think about it. We're not busy signing autographs or shooing people away from wanting to take pictures of us. So That's it. We have time for introspection, all the time in the world for it. Anyway, it was just a great show, and I love Matt, and I think he's fantastic. So hope you enjoyed this show, and I want to have a nice shout out to our sponsors at Schecter Guitars at schecterguitars.com. Go check out their amazing basses, all their products, and Jim Dunlop, jimdunlop.com, especially their MXR pedals that they have for bass and bassists and straps, just everything you could think of to keep yourself on the road. All right, we'll see you next time.